good evening, and a very warm welcome to everyone. I am delighted to have you all join us today for what promises to be a very insightful and enriching session. Hi, I'm 𝗪𝗲𝗪𝗀, a program executive member at Society of Clinical Research and Medical Professionals, shortly known as SCRMP, and I'm honored to be your host for this event. Now, today we are exploring a topic that is becoming increasingly essential in the field of pharmacy and healthcare, which is Introduction to Health Economics and Outcomes Research, HEOR, a primer for pharmacy students. A little bit about this topic. So, now HEOR helps evaluate the real world value of medical treatment by going beyond clinical efficacy to include cost effectiveness, patient outcomes, and quality of life. Now, for pharmacy students, understanding this HEOR is a key to contributing effectively in a value driven healthcare system. Now, before diving into the session, let me give you a very short, brief introduction about what SCRMP is. Established in 2024 and headquartered in Telangana, India, SCRMP is a dedicated society working to advance clinical research and support healthcare professionals. Through initiatives like workshops, webinars, and the publication Health Kingdom, SCRMP empowers professionals by fostering innovation, collaboration, and education in the field of clinical research. We're also very excited to share that SCRMP will soon be registering internationally, expanding our reach and impact beyond national borders. And we encourage all the attendees to explore our membership options, which include exclusive benefits such as access to internships, educational research, networking opportunities, and many more. Being a part of SCRMP is a step towards enhancing your professional journey and contributing to a global vision for better healthcare. Now, it is my very own privilege to introduce our today's esteemed speaker, Mr. Ankit Gupta. Mr. Ankit is a senior research associate level 2 at Lumanity with over 4 years of experience in health economics and outcomes research. With a strong academic background in medicinal and pharmaceutical chemistry, he has led and contributed to multiple real world evidence projects, systemic literature reviews, and research strategy initiatives. Known for his analytical mindset and collaborative approach, he brings a passion for bridging the gap between clinical research and real world application, making him a very valuable voice in evidence based healthcare. Now, with his clear expertise and passion for education, Ankit sir is the perfect guide for today's session in HEOR, Fundamentals for Pharmacy Students. Now, without further ado, please join me in welcoming Mr. Ankit. Over to you, sir.
Hello everyone. Hello Garima. Thank you for the brief introduction. So yes, it is an honor for me as well to give this webinar to all the pharmacy students. How do they all fit together? So now we know data streams are evolving every day. We are having AIs, we are having multiple tools for all the things. So it is where HER comes into play. It has the power to make the difficult level of questions, the different type of data work together, they play together and comes up with the result. So it is where health economics and the clinical outcomes from the health economics and the outcome research combine themselves. From health economics, we get cost efficacy analysis, we get the pricing data, we get cost benefit analysis, and from the outcome research, basically from the clinical point of view, we get the clinical data. Again, those like we discussed earlier around the efficacy of the drug, effectiveness, quality of life, etc. So when they all get clubbed together, they tell us a complete and more accurate picture around the healthcare intervention or the treatment, which combine all these factors to help the betterment of the decision making process. So that's how we get a clear picture around the intervention, around their benefit. If intervention is more costly, but if it is aiding the patient in terms of health improvement, then is it worth to go for that intervention as compared to other? So this is how health economics and outcome research is helping not just the patient but other key stakeholders like the payers, government officials, pharmaceutical companies, reimbursement agencies, insurance companies, etc. So with all these things, I think it will now be somewhat clear to you why HER is important. So like we discussed, the costs are rising, resources are limited. So we need to get a treatment which gives us the best value, not just on the basis of the result, but on the basis of the actual facts. Therefore, it helps policymakers, insurance companies, and the pharmaceutical companies. So next slide, please, where we will discuss the key stakeholders. Like we discussed, there are 5 key stakeholders in this field who will be getting benefit from HEOR, or all of these are related to HEOR in one way or another. The first and foremost, the main key holder is obviously us as a patient. We want to go for anything which is most affordable in terms of pricing. It is giving us the best results in terms of clinical results. Then we have doctors and the pharmacists, which need the data for their own self in order to choose the best treatment for their patients. Then we have the insurance companies, which use HEOR data to decide what to pay for and what not to. Then we have the pharmaceutical industries, which uses HEOR to show their products are actual worth the price which they are uh, mentioning or covering and prioritize which market they can access. Last, the government or the regulators, which need to make policies and approve drugs based on the available evidence. Next slide. Here we will discuss around the type of economic evaluations which help and contribute a lot in the decision-making problem in HEOR. So there are different types. First is cost minimization analysis. I think some of you might have heard about this thing. Even if it is new to you, then it is no problem. We will discuss cost effectiveness analysis with the problem. So then we have cost effectiveness analysis, then cost utility, and last is cost benefit. So any type of analysis where we are just comparing the cost of two similar treatments. Similar treatment means any treatment A and B are giving the best results in terms of clinical efficacy, but their cost is different. So if we are doing that sort of analysis, that goes under cost minimization analysis. Next one is cost effectiveness. Anything where health benefits are also getting into question, it becomes a cost effectiveness analysis. And if we add quality of life parameters into equation, it becomes cost utility. And if we convert all the outcomes into monetary benefit, it becomes a cost benefit analysis. So in the next slide, we will discuss this cost effectiveness analysis with an example. Yes. So here you will see we have two drugs, drug A and drug B. Drug A is costing $500 and drug B is costing us $300. So this is the cost per treatment. But another thing, like Kelly stands for quality adjusted life year. It is a measure which combines the quality and the quantity of life. Again, indicates how the quality of life of the patients are. So for our simplest understanding, let us consider the higher the value of Kelly, the better it is. So the drug A is giving us 0.9 Kellys, drug B is giving us 0.6 Kellys. So on our first glance, we will see that drug A is more costlier than drug B, which is $500. So it makes more sense to go for drug B because it is less costly. But there is another thing which we also need to pay attention to, and it is very important in order to prioritize any drug, which is the effectiveness parameter. And here it is Kelly. So if we directly go to step 2, because in step 1 we are just comparing the cost of the drug, and it seems the drug B is cheaper, so we will prefer drug B, but that's not the case. So in order to understand and prioritize which drug to follow, we need to calculate the incremental cost effectiveness issue, which is nothing but just comparison of the difference in the cost of drug A and B divided by the Kellys of both the drugs, which comes out to be $666 per Kelly. So on next slide, we will see. Yes. So on next slide, we will see that the iSure is $666 per Kelly. And if we are willing to pay a maximum of $1,000 per Kelly, this is the willingness to pay threshold. In our example, we are considering $1,000 per Kelly. It is typical threshold in many countries, so we have taken just this example. So any value of iSure or anything, if it comes below $1,000 of the WTP threshold, it becomes cost effective. So like we calculated, it was $666 per Kelly. So actually, drug A will be getting preferred on drug B, which is just opposite to what we thought initially, around the drug B costing less than drug A. So by calculating iSure, we will get to know that yes, the drug A is actually better in terms of cost, since it is giving us more health benefits, which is also written here, like at higher Kellys, 0.9 versus 0.6. Although drug A is more expensive, the additional health benefit justify the extra cost. Cost per Kelly is also acceptable, and iSure are within the range. So on all these grounds, we will finally prefer drug A over drug B. Next slide. Outcome measures. So there are different types of outcomes in our field: clinical outcomes, economic outcomes, humanistic, and the tools with the help of which we calculate all the outcomes. So any clinical outcomes, like any data which we are getting from the clinical trials or clinical studies, like the cure rates of the drug, survival time, progression of the patient on a disease, overall survival, mortality. So many outcomes are there for the clinical efficacy. Then we have economic outcomes, which studies the drug and the cost-related expenses of the drug. Then we have humanistic outcomes, which are related to the quality of life of the patient, their satisfaction with the drug, if they are their quality, if the life of the patient or their caregivers are getting better with the help of the intervention for the disease. Then there are multiple tools for calculating the quality of life, like EQ5D, SF36, etc. So these are the surveys which measure the health status of the patient. So for all these outcomes, we have different data sources, which is there in our next slide. Next slide, please. Yes. So, like I mentioned the clinical data, the best source of the clinical data are the clinical trials, not just the clinical trials, but also the real world data. So I hope you are aware of with all these things, clinical trials and the real world data. So clinical trial is just the studies which are being performed in a very controlled clinical environment with a selected patients. We have a very restricted criteria, inclusion criteria. We follow a dedicated exclusion criteria. The patient needs to be having well-defined parameters. They need not to have a comorbidity. So they are conducted in a very proper, controlled, well-defined environment. And anything which is getting performed outside of those clinical trials becomes our real-world data. So real-world data comes from the real world, where the patient is not in a well-defined clinical setting. He or she may be having any comorbidity, and they are taking multiple
Very,
interventions.
very good question. We will now open the floor officially for the questions. So feel free to ask anything related to about today's discussion or the broader aspect of HEOR. Over to the participant.
I understand it is a very new field, but yes, it is emerging at a very fast pace in India. Not just in India, but outside the India as well. There are very strict regulations for a drug to be getting approved. So there are a lot of things which are going on, and HUR is a very emerging field. So because you all guys are very new to the career, so you can give a thought to be a part of this field. You can learn as much as possible. You can take certification courses from Udemy or LinkedIn. You can refer to Google for your learnings. I am working as a systematic literature reviewer, so anyone wants to discuss around that, so it is also fine. We can take those questions as well.
So there are questions in the chat box.
Mhm. What is the specific skill set we need to develop in order to pursue career in HUR? So, Satyam, there is not a specific skill set for anyone to be a part of HUR because you guys will be uh, directly starting your career from the university level. So, I'll tell you the scenario with the pharmaceutical companies are opting, or the consultancies are opting for a person to be a part in their domain. So first of all, they will ask the person to be a postgraduate. So it is a very uh, good thing if you will be getting any master's degree. I am not sure the different options available in India for masters, but yes, I am aware that there are master's degree for the statistics and the health economics in abroad. So for India, because I'm not aware at this time what are the different options for the master degree, but yes, at least you should be a master's uh, person. Then for your own learning, you can go for the internship if it allows. If not, then you can go for the independent courses or certifications around the basics of